following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
Thank you, Tally Olson. We are hunkered down. Oh, no. We're back talking New York Mets baseball in the zone. It is a weird week. Everything has come to a stop. Baseball, life itself, everybody. How is it in Florida, guys? Marty Rose and Robert Cole. I'm in California. How is it in terms of restrictions about where you were to go, to congregate, groups, this, that, and the other thing? Robert.
Well, in the county that I'm in, Pinellas County, we have a shelter in place. Of course, you'd still go to the stores, go to the emergency things that you need to do, and that's fine. I think it's working pretty good. So
stores
far,
closed, basically?
Everything's closed other than supermarkets, gas stations, and banks. And restaurants are doing strictly takeout and drive-through.
Much like it is in California.
Now I don't know if it's the same up in Marty's neck of the woods, but it's different in every county, basically.
Yeah, it's pretty similar here. We have a curfew of 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. And
you have a curfew?
Yeah, 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. curfew here in Osceola and in Orange County as well. We're in Orlando. And otherwise, it's the same as Robert said.
Is that just for the Jews, or is that for everybody?
For everybody, as far as I know.
Oh, okay, all right.
And same as Robert said about the restaurants.
Yeah, we were just talking about the politics of Florida compared to the politics of California off the air a little bit, and I don't know how it was going. I know that I break a number of rules. All Jews are supposed to retire in Florida. I'm in California.
Yeah.
So I know there's a warrant out for my arrest. Some rabbi's going to come knocking on the door. We have a warrant. And they'll drag me back to Florida.
One thing the governor did say today, though, that a lot of people from New York and New Jersey who cannot even go out, they're not even allowed to go out at all. So they're getting on airplanes and they're coming to Florida. So what the governor is doing
These are very good thinkers, because not spreading the virus would be a real goof on America. They're getting away with something, I'll tell you.
So he says if anybody that's coming from New York and New Jersey on an airplane has got to be in quarantine for 14 days after they come in.
Oh, that's what you meant, Robert. I thought you were going to quarantine me. We're talking off the air a little bit. I thought if I moved to Florida, Robert would have me quarantine for different reasons. That was my mistake, and that's why I said I'd gladly be quarantined for that. They put me in a room with a bunch of guys just passing a joint back and forth, which is illegal. They have to wean me. I know it's illegal in Florida.
Yes.
California, believe it or not, it is totally legal to, get high, grow what you need. Totally different, and that's what I meant by the politics of the state. That's the way it is. But, so that's where the quarantine comes. So where do they quarantine you for 14 days?
Well,
wherever you're going to.
Okay, say I'm from New Jersey, come to Florida, and I get off the plane, and I'm going to go to the beach. But they go, we're going to quarantine you where?
It's a self-quarantine, I believe.
Yes.
So there's no way to enforce it, really.
Right.
So you go to a hotel and you're quarantined in your hotel room?
Well, a lot of the hotels are closed. A lot of the hotels are closed. A lot of them are.
What's happening, Ralph, is that a lot of people who own homes down here, and they come down for part of the year, or they just have investments.
Snowbirds.
Well, not so much snowbirds, but people who have them as investment properties and stuff like that. They're now trying to flee the city and come down here, and basically, the governor's saying, well, you come down here, but you're not going to be able to go anywhere for 2 weeks. But like Marty says, how do you enforce that? So.
Right. And do you really want to go anywhere for 2 weeks? Does anybody, no matter where they live in this country, do we really want to be anywhere but safe and sheltered in our own environment? That's the question.
Unfortunately, Ralph, as Marty and I both saw, with the spring breakers and stuff, a lot of, younger people, they think they're indestructible, and, the rules are for other people, not them. And, they're coming down here. The beaches were open down here initially, partly for recreation, so people get out and walk. But, a bunch of people started partying on the beaches and stuff like that, so they had to close the beaches.
Same thing in California or in Alameda. There's a basketball court at Washington Park, a big park, really a nice park, nice court where it attracts a lot of good high school, college players come and work out and what have you. Just yesterday, they got a sign that says no working out, no playing on these courts. People were indeed just, either spreading it or at risk by playing basketball. And it didn't stop them. So that's all over. You're going to find stupid people, I guess, going out. But when you think about it, you're putting older people like ourselves in jeopardy, really.
Yeah, and I mean, I know myself, my wife, Marty and his wife, you and Tally are probably, staying in, and we are. I mean, we're not doing anything. We bring in our stuff. Like, we'll go out tomorrow morning to senior hour at Publix and do our shopping, and then we'll come home.
Yeah, I'm doing that. I'm doing that too, Robert.
Yeah.
7 to 8 o'clock.
Yeah, we ought to.
In the morning.
She goes out once a week for shopping with her sister, and God knows what she can pick up there and bring back. So you're always at risk somewhere along the line. And now I really thought it was like blowing snot on yourselves or whatever. It's not. It's airborne. You don't. So even more of a risk. And the real risk is the cities, states don't have the equipment, the ventilators, the testing equipment, and we are being led by our governors, which in this case is good. In New York, it's Cuomo. In California, we've got a good go-get-em Democratic governor, but the leadership from above is incredible. I saw Trump's speech today, and it really scares me. He wants to get people back to work, obviously, and his doctors are standing there and saying, no, you got to stop this bubble. So he's in a quandary, but which is it? Going to be human life and then recover the economy, or lose human life and never recover the economy? Which is it going to be?
Well, what he said, was, and I just shook my head, and what he said was there'll be more deaths if we don't get the country opened up with the economy than there would be from the virus.
I heard him say that. He rambled about a bunch of things. there will be some deaths as a result of not getting the economy back in order. Through it all, this is going to cause horrible chaos, but it won't be anything. If we don't get the virus solved, you could wipe out half the population in the world, literally.
Right, and then also Iowa, Colorado, and I can name other countries that are doing things differently.
Other states or other countries?
Well, that's what Trump said in his speech. Somebody asked him about how come some of the states are doing things
you were
differently.
paraphrasing him, in other words.
Yes.
Other words.
Yes. And he said, well, in Iowa and Colorado and other countries I can name, okay, they're doing things differently.
I'm betting 5-1 he can't even name other countries without somebody tapping him on the shoulder and saying, "Sir, Mr. President, Ireland isn't a state. Israel's a state, by the way, but not Ireland."
He makes the vice president actually look good.
Right, exactly. He's articulate. He's next to him. Right. And I'll tell you, if you ever watch the health administrator, the Italian guy from Brooklyn with a brain.
Yeah. Oh, no,
Blue guy's in the background. He scratches his head. He goes, "What the fuck?" 3 times to himself in every speech. Am I right?
Well, covering his face. Yeah.
Yes, covers his face. He goes, I can't say what the fuck out loud. I know that. I can't get him off the stage. I can't tackle him. But holy...
He actually said that to an interviewer. He said,
I know.
Yeah.
Right. And
the best part of his speeches...
And he wasn't there tonight, which the first time in a long time, he wasn't there tonight. He criticized him last night and wasn't there tonight. So on the serious side, if we're just dealing with lottery tickets or something, it would be one thing. But we're talking about human life. And I don't know if Pence is planning an Amendment 25 where they could say, well, he's breaking down. He shouldn't be in charge. And as you say, Pence is looking good. He's even looking good to me. And I know once in a while he'll throw something in, well, let's all pray it goes away.
Yeah.
Because we know how that works.
Right.
1 out of 78 times. It works pretty well.
But he actually gives you the information you're tuning in to hear.
Right, and he's going along really well, and then he says something that makes you scratch your head and go, wow, the doctor with the real education who knows what's happening, who sees this, has made his life's career what he must be going through.
Yeah.
Trump, and this is all before we get to second base.
Trump can't finish a sentence without reading it.
Right.
He's looking down.
That's the only time that it makes sense is when he's reading his script. But when he stops reading his script and they start asking him questions, it's like watching Henny Youngman talking Stengalese.
Did you notice he went off on how great Boeing was today, right in the middle of the health? They're asking him a question. Do you feel safe about letting people out after, another week, when you were talking just last week about this has to go for 8 weeks, and we were complimenting you for being serious and really telling folks how it was. Are you confident of that? And the woman, a very articulate woman, phrased it beautifully. He couldn't call her nasty because she was white. So he was faced with that dilemma. So he segued smoothly into how Boeing was a great corporation for a lot of years, and they're going to be needing help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wasn't that smooth?
Last night he went into a 10-minute monologue on how tough it is to be a rich man running for president. And that totally made a lot of sense in the middle of it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, he was a lousy second baseman. Okay, he never would have made the Mets.
No, he was no Fonzie. I guess Fonzie was my favorite of all time. Mert, who was your favorite second baseman? Skills notwithstanding.
Oh man, that's tough. You know, that's really tough.
How about who do you consider the best second baseman?
All right, start with that. That's
close. I think actually the first question and the first guy you mentioned is kind of right, but I think the beginning of that what you said, Alfonso, he could be the best, but I don't know if he was my favorite. I might go back to Wally Backman, you know, as a favorite.
Felix Millan.
Yeah, I don't know how far back you want to go, but I mean, you know, you want to go all the way back. Ron Hunt was a favorite.
Yes. That was my favorite.
You know,
first legitimate All-Star, if I recall.
Well, their first real prospect, first All-Star.
Well, I think we already mentioned the best three: Alfonso, Backman, and Millan. You know, I think they were the best three.
Yeah.
And,
now Kent didn't play enough with the Mets, I guess. You know, to get put into that, he was more of a giant.
He played less than 400 games.
Right.
Where Millan and Backman played over 600. You know, so.
Yeah. And another guy that pops into mind is Ken Boswell.
I was going to say 69.
That's right. That's right. You got to put the guys in that were there when they won either a pennant or a World Series. You know, absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And how about the disappointment of Alomar?
Oh, terrible. And Carlos Baerga and Castillo. I mean, those guys
going all the way back to the beginning. Charlie Neal.
That too. But those three guys were good elsewhere. You know, Alomar, Baerga, and Castillo. They were decent players, especially Alomar.
Yep.
Alomar.
That's why it was especially his play galled me especially.
Yeah, well, I guess he was washed up when he got here. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plus, I don't think he wanted to be here. You know, be with the Mets. So.
Oh, really? I don't remember the circumstances. I guess I blocked that out.
And then another guy too is Doug Flynn.
Doug Flynn, I like a lot.
That's right.
He was a slick fielder. He could play shortstop.
Played over 500.
All those guys came under really harrowing circumstances because no one was going to replace Seaver. All five of those guys.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Right. That's right.
But I like Dougie Flynn. Time for a Ralphie Metz story regarding Dougie Flynn and Joe Torre. They were out playing the Giants, and I knew what hotel they were staying at. So I just happened to call Joe Torre. Hey, what the hell? You know? Marty said, remember I called Lee Groskop's wife.
That's right. Yeah, I think.
I called Sam Huff. I was 10 years old. I was
I remember this. Yeah, I don't know how old we were, 14 maybe. I don't know.
Right.
They lived in Flushing.
So what the hell? I'm going to call. Yes, he lived in Flushing. He had a listed number, Sam Huff.
Yeah.
Is this Sam Huff? And he had one of those voices like the Good Humor Man that we talked about. Marty. The guy said we were little kids and we were late coming home or something. We had to know what time it was. Mr. Good Humor Man, can you tell me what time it is?
The guy looked like a linebacker, right?
Right, a big strapping guy. And they were just sitting there. He goes, it's 4:45. Just broke us up that we could remember it 68 years later, which is incredible. So I called Tori, and I'm Ralph Tyko, I'm a Met fan, blah, blah, blah. He goes, yes. He goes, you got Tavares playing shortstop, who he made 2 errors the night before, something like that. And you got Flynn playing second. What would be the... Have you ever considered switching them? Long pause. I'll consider that. Swear to God, that game, he had nothing to lose. Remember, he managed when they were terrible, the Bruce Beauclair years, that kind of thing. And he was devastated by that trade. I mean, as a manager for Tools, he knew they were dead. And he tried it out. I swear to God, Flynn played shortstop the next game they played.
Wow.
That is a true story.
That's great.
And Sam Huff sounded like the Good Humor Man compared to what you'd expect, like Ray Nitsky would sound. You know, right?
That's funny.
Yeah. So there you go, Dougie Flynn. Let's name
Neil
those
Walker,
5
too.
guys.
Yeah.
Robert.
The 5
One.
guys in the Seaver trade?
No, Robert.
Let's see. There was Zachary.
Marty.
Flynn.
Dan Norman.
Marty, name one.
Dan
Henderson.
Norman.
Yes, Norman. That's the least known, and he was supposed to have the potential to make it all go. I think that's how they build it. You know, he's the youngest coming up. They were all pretty good ball players. Steve Henderson was a pretty good ball player. You know, is all. Yeah. But as far as, and another thing, that day we lose track. That day or the next day, they dumped Kingman as well.
Yeah, it was the same day because that was the trading deadline. It was the Midnight Massacre.
That's right.
Yeah. Yes. So
Midnight Massacre was right after. In fact, I can still remember it. I listened to the game on the radio, and it was right after the game. I think when they started announcing the trades. M. Donald Grant.
M. Donald Grunt, they used to call him. Anyway, yes, that broke it up. Let's give an assist to a man who you were pictured with at your uncle's retirement. You posted
Young.
that picture, Mert.
Dick Young.
Dick Young gets a big A for assist on that trade. He helped drive Seaver out of town.
Yeah, he hated Seaver.
Yeah, I don't know what started that. I mean, maybe I don't know. Is it a personality conflict or what?
He did have some power of the press, though.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no question.
Well, you think about it. Seaver is one of the first of the businessmen ball players. The guys that carried an attaché case, to and from the ballpark, and totally different and Dick Young riding the trains, with the
well educated. He was well educated, articulate.
Right.
He had a beautiful wife. All the things that a little underpaid in his mind guy who was not going to ever be a jock, and that was his issue as far as as far as I see it. And you can see how Seaver, a guy like that, could be intimidating. But to give us some idea of the real Tom Seaver, listen to some of the interviews I've done with Skip Lockwood over the years, over the months, and him talking about being mentored by Seaver and what he was and the kind of person he was. He was a pretty good guy. Is a pretty good guy. That's what makes what he's going through even worse.
Seaver was his ride to the ballpark too.
That's absolutely right. His ride to
until one day he didn't show up. Remember that?
You remember that interview, right?
Well, yeah. Well, I read the book too, so
Oh yeah, Skip Lockwood's book. Very articulate guy, Skip Lockwood, and so one day he didn't show up. He said he had to drive himself.
Mercy.
It's great being a Met fan in a lot of ways. Our memories are priceless. You mentioned Charlie Neal. That was one of the things that they hyped the '62 Met team to be decent on. Charlie Neal, it was 1959 when he came up. It was Rookie of the Year. We thought we had something.
No. Your memory's going on you, Ralphie.
That's for sure.
Okay, Charlie Neal came up.
That's for sure, George.
Charlie Neal came up in 1956 with the Brooklyn Dodgers. He was never
was
rookie.
He not rookie? Oh well, they made the World Series in '59, and he was
right, and he was the star of the playoffs and the World Series.
Okay, that's what it was, and you're right. Yeah. He did come up earlier.
And he probably played
the Brooklyn Dodger maven, as well as the Met maven. By the way, I'm serious. You have as much knowledge of the Brooklyn Dodgers as anyone tied with Peter Trunk. How about that?
Well, I take that as a compliment and an honor.
Yeah, and it was meant as that. You are absolutely, the two of you, just from a Brooklyn Dodgers standpoint, have taught me a lot because I grew up as a Giant fan and far removed from the history, and I only started really worshiping them of late. There was nothing like that marriage of a borough with a team, and there will be nothing like that in his. The Brooklyn Dodgers are almost above baseball itself when you think about it. Mentioned in movies, how many movies? You can probably name some that mention the Brooklyn Dodgers.
Well, every movie about World War II. Okay, there's always a guy from Brooklyn. Okay, reminiscing about the Brooklyn Dodgers, and one of the things they would say, like, well, we think there's a German coming who's trying to be an American. Okay, and the guy would come in and say, "I'm an American." Yeah, where did the Dodgers play? One of the soldiers would yell out.
Whoa. That's a test.
Yeah, that's one of the cliches in almost all those movies.
They played in Brooklyn, God damn it!
Hey, here's a little trivia test for you two. Okay, the Mets got Charlie Neal in a trade. All right, it was before the season, but they got him in a trade from the Dodgers. Who did they trade to the Dodgers for him?
Lee Walls.
Very good. All right.
Whoa. They didn't have to think
good.
about it. Holy mackerel, Ralph.
Damn. You've been studying, haven't you, Ralph?
Yeah, but where's my keys? See,
and I would have presented you with the car, but, we have to stay at least 6 feet apart.
No, I didn't mean those cards. The keys to my own keys that I can't find. I don't know what happened yesterday, but I know what. And this isn't in 1962 when that trade was made. If I'm not mistaken, Lee Walls was the first player signed with the Mets, even before the draft, or is the first of something. And they.
Well, he was the first. Okay, in the draft of that year, they had different tiered players, and he was one of the top tier. I think 75,000 or 750,000, whatever the price was, and he was the first one of those players taken by the Mets. And they actually took him at the direction of the Dodgers because this trade had actually been made beforehand, and the Dodgers wanted Lee Walls. They asked the Mets to draft him. They did, and then they made the trade.
Wow.
But very good, Ralph. Very good.
No. Lee Walls was a guy who never played with the Mets, and Johnny Antonelli was another one who, and Billy Lowe's. The Mets owned or drafted those two, and they both said, no.
Billy Lowe's actually was on the Thanksgiving Day Mets float. That year.
Okay.
With
Gil Hodges?
With Gil Hodges and Casey Stengel. And I think Charlie Neal.
Whoa. Good memory.
He rode on the float with them, and then he said, what am I doing? And he got out.
And Billy Lowe's, as Marty knows, was from Jackson Heights.
There you go.
Yep.
Yeah. Lost the ground ball in the sun.
Okay, and Carl Erskine, all right, said that, yes, that really did happen, because in those days when the sun was going down, it would come through the gate, and the light would come underneath the gate, and when he bent down to get the ground ball, Carl Erskine said it was very possible that the sun got in his eyes.
All right. Well, I wonder if Billy Lowe's was reputed to have, when they asked him who's going to win the World Series, he said the Yankees in 6, and he was playing for the Dodgers. And then when they came after him, he says, no, what I said was the Yankees in 7. So
he also, one year when he signed his contract, Buzzy Bavesi said, we expect you to win 15 games this year, Billy. When he won his 15th game, he said, well, I'm going home. I did what my contract called for.
That's good. An underrated guy, was pretty good. Gave them some good innings for 2 or 3 years there.
Yeah, I got one second baseman that we didn't mention who played 509 games. Daniel Murphy.
Oh, yeah.
You understand that was absolutely Freudian why we didn't mention him.
Yeah, well, if we're
Block
talking
things
children.
out. In our old age, we have selective memories.
Yeah, I got
that's, because, we think of him more as a first baseman, I guess,
Well, also, he wasn't a very good fielder. So
No.
it's mostly his hitting, you know. So.
Yeah, he played second base like Dick Stewart played first base.
Exactly.
Well, actually, no one played. No one that we have ever seen. Well, Marv. I was going to say, who can you compare to Dick Stewart? Marv.
We didn't mention him when we were talking first baseman last week.
No, we didn't.
Dr. Strangeglove, they called him.
Yep.
All right, some trivia. How did they acquire Marv Thornberry?
Let's see.
Don't recall.
I'm going to give it away. I don't want the audience to go. I know. They traded the 1 for 34 Don Zimmer for him.
Wow.
Oh, I think your memory's going on you again, Ralph, because the Mets traded Don Zimmer to the Cincinnati Reds.
Oh, you're right. For Cliff Cook.
For Jesse Gonder and Cliff Cook, yes.
Yeah,
Wow.
Jesse Gonder was from McClymonds High School, and McClymonds High School had, as well as Bill Russell, they had Frank Robinson, Vada Pinson, and Kurt Flood play in the same outfield.
Well, that's right. Yeah, all those guys are from. Yeah. I mean, Jesse Gonder was supposed to be the next great catcher for the Yankees.
Right.
And they traded him to Cincinnati, and then Cincinnati traded him to the Mets.
So now I'm at a quandary, if you will, a quagmire, and something else with a Q, like a crazy guy. Who did they trade Thornberry for? How did they get Thornberry?
I think Thornberry was a sale. You know, they sold Thornberry, and I think he was with the Orioles at the time.
He was with the Orioles.
Right.
Yes. They sent cash and a player to be named to the Orioles for Thornberry. Okay. And then I think that turned out to be Hobie Landreth at the end of the deal.
Okay. Yeah. Hobie Landreth. I knew it was an original Met.
Yeah. And, of course, we know Hobie Landreth was the first player drafted by the Mets because Casey said, how can you have a ball team without a catcher?
You get a lot of pass balls.
Right, exactly.
You get a lot of pass balls
right,
without
Marty.
a catcher. Yep. Absolutely right.
Folks, if there's anything that you need to know, okay, it may not help you with anything, but we're the three guys to give it to you.
And if you really need us, God bless you.
Oh, God.
All right, guys.
Where do we go next week, Ralph? What position?
We go around the horn, shortstop next week.
Okay, cool.
Elio Chacon,
and I wanted to ask
you,
did you not mention Al Moran as a second baseman?
Yes, I
Robert?
did. Yeah.
Did he play a lot of second base? I don't remember him playing much there at all.
Yes, he played a lot of second base in the second year. Okay,
they brought over Fernandez.
Chico Fernandez played shortstop most of the time. But you had Al Moran, another name of the past, Ted Schreiber, Sammy Drake, Larry Burritt.
Sally's brother. There were two Drakes. One was Sally Drake. One was with the Cubs, if I'm not mistaken. Sally and Sammy.
Sally Drake was with the Cubs.
And here's another segue, Mert.
Yeah.
The first baseball card I ever saw was in your bedroom. That sounded a little weird. Not that there's anything wrong with that. But it was a Sally Hemus baseball card. And do you remember the set that had the television?
Yes.
1955 Bowman.
1955 Bowman. Okay.
Yeah.
That I was 9 years old.
So yeah.
We were both 9 years old.
Yeah. Jeez. Oh, my God.
Jesus, right.
I remember that set. Yeah, I remember that set, actually. Definitely.
Yeah, and I remember Solly because there was a guy who owned a candy store, Saul, in the Bronx. And my grandfather's candy store when I went to the Bronx was Saul. So the name stuck me. And that same Saul opened a store across from Jack and Manny's all those years later. There was a guy named Saul had that store.
Wow.
This is a very strange... This show could be the three of us. I'm sure the three of us listen to it and no one else. It doesn't matter. But it's on record. 200 years from now, they're going to dig this stuff up and say, can you see why civilization died?
90th Street and Northern Boulevard, folks.
90th, and for those of you out there keeping score.
Hey,
be well, everybody. Thank you for listening. Marty, Robert, the highlight of a dismal week.
Yes.
For me. Thank you both. Be well. We'll be back at you very soon. Happy trails.
Good night.
Good night.
The proceeding has been a Comfortably Zoned network production. You are advised to keep your dreams wet, your humor dry, your children and grandchildren out of military recruiting offices and off the laps of clerics who wear dresses. Thank you for listening, everyone. Happy trails.